Oh, hi there. Um, I've been doing a training flight through the mountains and the Caucasus, and I seem to have lost track of where I'm supposed to be. Let me see if I can go around and find something. Oh, look, there's a river. Hmm, a little bumpy out here in the mountains today. I think I can see a lake over there. All right, let's see if we can figure out where we are. Hello, everybody. So today I'm going to be talking to you about VFR navigation, or Visual Flight Rules Navigation. Now, this is a realm of navigation which relies on you being able to visually see the environment around you. So, your horizon, landmarks, trees, hills. Essentially, you're doing everything navigating by eyes instead of navigating by your instrument panel in front of you. If you're navigating mostly by your instruments, that is known as IFR, Instrument Flight Rules. So, with VFR, and we're trying to navigate via VFR, we have to use landmarks. Now, good landmarks are going to be distinguishing features. The outline of a city or a town, a highway, a well-known highway or a well-distinguished highway, lakes, rivers. If you have, in our case, in the Caucasus, which it's going to be hard to see with our cloud cover, if you have mainly one massive peak or distinguishing peaks on the hillside, as out here in the Caucasus, you can use those to essentially reference as a fixed reference point to know where that is, and then from there you can figure out where you are. So, based on where we are right now, I can see two distinguishing landmarks. We have a very large river snaking its way through the flatland. We are currently exiting a mountainous area and heading towards another mountainous area. So that tells me that we're between two peaks, two hills on a map, and there's a valley in between. As we can see, the valley heads off to the right, continues in front of us, and heads off to the left. And so using distinguishing features, like we can see a island out there, we can use the shape of this island and how the river is going around to be able to figure out where we are on the map. So if we pull up our F10 map, I have turned off everything to be able to tell exactly where we are. So we just have a generic map. So now if we notice, we are still coming north, and all of this dark amber here along with white is indicating snow and some quite high mountains. As you can see, if we run our mouse over it in the top left, you'll see the altitude reading of these mountains gets quite high, over 15,000 feet in some places, and most of them are over 12,000 feet. And then we have this other patch of um, tan down here, which is indicating another patch of hills and elevated terrain above um, the usual level ground. And so, with the fact that we are exiting one mountain peak here, and that we have one in front of us, and there's no other within this area, that means that we are currently located within this stretch located here. So now that we've narrowed down our location, we're now going to use some of the landmarks that we have spotted. So we're going to zoom in, and since we have now narrowed it down to this corridor in here, we now know that this is the only area that we can possibly be in. So we already know that we're not over the ocean, so we can eliminate that. So now we're going to look for rivers. So we have this big one here, but this is mainly heading in one straight direction with one little curve, and that's not what we're seeing outside. However, if we zoom in here, we recognize this shape of this island. If we go back to our F1 view, we can see that shape right there. So now that we know where this is, we know that we are approximately this direction. We don't know how far, but we know that we're in this direction just based on where this is relative to us. So we're about here. We also have a visible lake just out there, and we can't really see too many of its defining features, but we know that there's a lake off our nose. So, knowing that we know this point, and we know that we're about here, we can then draw two locations that we are possibly heading towards. Here or here. Now, knowing this information, we can then, based on either we are heading towards this lake or this lake, and with this direction, we can roughly approximate that we are somewhere either here or here, heading this direction. So, with that information, if I wanted to, now that I know approximately where I am, I can then navigate myself to one of these landmarks, say the river here, and then I can continue myself on my navigational course, whether or not that is to Kutaisi or to Senaki Kolki. Or if I want it to be even more challenging, is to figure out a path through these mountains. Now, if you were doing a path through the mountains, what you need to take reference of is knowing your entry point and mapping out your course through the mountains by examining towns, rivers, essentially everything that we have done just on a much smaller scale. So if we come across a village and it's next to a river, we know that if we were following this path here, it's going to be quite common until we get to this fork. And then we have to decide, do we go right or do we go left? Now, of course, when you're doing valley flying, you're going to be well planning out these routes in advance. You're not going to just, I hope that you're not just going to go straight down a valley without pre-planning and knowing every last single turn, or at least having an idea as to where you need to turn. So, with that, that is most of VFR. I'm going to get back to my training flight and get back to practicing some turbulent air flying and some landing. But what you really need to know is just look for landmarks, distinguishing features. Over here we have, like, when you exit, if you were to exit this valley, you'll see it's a big river that empties into a town, and then it continues in a river. And rivers are really great at being able to find out where you are when they are the only thing on, when they are one of a few things on the map. So if you are in a place with many rivers, as long as they create distinguishing shapes with the landscape and everything else, you can find out where you are. Another key reference is using mountains. This is the highest point in the Caucasus Mountains right here. And we can use this to essentially tell where we are just based on where is this located to me and what direction am I flying. And this gives us a nice, very big visual reference point for us to be able to check on at all times when we can see it. So, with that, I hope this helps you with learning how to do VFR navigation with VFR flying, and I will see you in the next video.